All right. Hope you guys can hear me okay. I know we're just getting started. I know eventually you guys will get tired of this background. So, but first off, I want to thank you all for joining tonight's Periscope. I know you guys can be anywhere on the planet, but you guys are here. I do have the microphone position a little bit differently this time. So if you can hear me, just double tap the screen. Let me know if you guys can hear me or send a message right there. So we're going to get started in a couple seconds. I know I like to get started on time. So, oh, thank you. Good. I'm glad you guys can hear me. Let me check the time. Perfect. It is 8:45 Central Time. So let's go jump right into it. How to lower your car payment. All right. It's really actually simple. OK, the easiest way. And I know first off, I want to make sure that everyone knows I am professional. This is just my company hat, Go Simply Pro Credit Consultation. So I want to make sure I'm always promoting. Thank you for sharing on Twitter and getting the information out there. I most definitely appreciate it. So my name is Calvin Russell. For those of you all who've never seen me before or heard me speak, I'm a certified FICO professional. I've also been in the automotive industry for 4 years. I've sold well over 500 cars. I've done sales, I've done finance, and now I'm doing management. Either way, I'm always looking for ways to help, people, any way I can. Right now it's about, auto loans. And right now we're going to go ahead and focus on how to lower your car payment, because I've seen $500 a month, $400 a month, even $300 a month. Sometimes it's a stretch for people. So how can you lower that payment? The first thing, the easiest way to lower your car payment is to actually refinance. OK, now people say, well, Calvin, how do you refinance an auto loan? OK, number one, the car must qualify. OK, assuming you qualify, but I'll go into that a little bit. But how does the car qualify? All right. So now the car, most of the time that we're working with lenders, they want to know, first off, how old is the car? OK, 9 times out of 10, they're probably going to go probably no older than 5 to 6 years tops, depending on how many people, depending on, how many miles you have on a vehicle. And that, again, that's another factor, how many miles you have on the vehicle. OK, so there are plenty of banks that do refinancing. You can go with Capital One, although Capital One does not, I repeat, Capital One does not do refinancing for current auto loan account holders. I'll repeat that again. Capital One does not refinance current auto loan account holders. OK, because if they can make money off of, if they can make money after having, someone on a higher interest loan, then of course they're not going to try to refinance it. OK, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad someone's actually getting some insight from this. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that, I will, of course, going down the bank. So you got Capital One. That's number one. I always recommend Capital One. It's a lot easier, more of a household name. Secondly, you can always try Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo is a great bank to try. Once again, I don't know how Wells Fargo is as far as with their current account holders. I know how, Capital One is. OK, so you got Wells Fargo. You can also try Fifth Third Bank, Chase Bank. But before you do any of this, number one, ask them what the requirements are. The problem what I see with a lot of consumers is that they go into a place or they call a place and they do a credit application and they have no idea what the requirements are, to even see if they qualify. For example, why call a place, not ask for the requirements, do the credit application only to find out your car does not qualify. OK. Secondly, you need to know where your credit score is. OK. A lot of people have no idea where their score is. Most of my clients, I would have to say 90 to 95% of my clients have an idea of what their score is. OK. They check their scores either monthly or they have some type of alert system that's going on. OK. For those who don't know, I am the CEO and founder of Go Simply Pro Credit Consultation. My clients are averaging anywhere between a 25 to 30 point increase per month. It would be rude for me not to talk about my company, but that's why I'm bringing this whole post up, because I see a lot of people paying, monthly payments that are outrageous. OK, so the easiest way, as I talked about, is to refinance. Find out what the requirements are. Find out, what type of cars they take and what cars they don't take. Find out what type of credit scores they take and what types they don't take. Most of the time, even if let's say if you have 15% right now. OK, I'm just using an easy number. Let's say you have 15%. And you sign a 6-year term originally. OK, and then let's say 2 years have gone by. But now what you want to do, you've decided, you know what? I don't mind keeping this car a little bit longer, even if you do or you don't. Just so you know, just because you sign a 6-year, 5-year, a 4-year term does not mean you have to keep the car that long. You can always trade out of the vehicle. You're never stuck inside of a vehicle. Okay. But I've seen people do this. What they'll do, they'll have a 15% loan or whatever. And let's say they originally signed for 6 years. Let's say 2 years have gone by. So now we have 4 years left, and now they have they're still at 15%. You can still refinance. And then let's say you don't qualify for a lower rate, but they're able to stretch that term back out. That in turn will lower your rate. Will lower your monthly car payment. Okay. Another thing that you can do is you can always try to go. Oh yeah, I just got a notification for another Periscope from a good friend of mine. So, but another thing that you can do, you can always try to thank you. I just want to make sure this information is helpful. Just let me know if any of this information is helpful. I'll double tap the screen. But another thing that you can do is you always want to try to go for a lower rate. And if you can, try to keep the same term. For example, if you originally signed a 6-year term, and let's say you're at 15%. 2 years have gone by. That means you have 4 years left on the term. Let's say you go and refinance this. Okay. Thanks for the love, guys. I appreciate it. Let's say if you go ahead and refinance it and they say, you know what, we cannot give you a lower rate, but we can take the 4 years and stretch it back out to 6 years. Now, granted, you're probably saying, well, man, Calvin, I just went from a 4-year term to now a 6-year term. Once again, you're not stuck inside of the vehicle. Okay. Even if you have the same interest rate, you can still lower that monthly payment. And guess what? You can still make the original payment that you were doing beforehand. And over time, you can actually bring that overall balance down. Okay. Now, if you're one of my clients, I say one of my clients because my clients that send in anywhere between a 25 to 30 point increase per month, the right way and legally. Okay. You can always check the website out at gosimplypro.com. But what they're doing is they're qualifying for both. So they have an option to either go with, they can stretch out the term, or they can, once again, same scenario, 15%. They signed originally for a 6-year term, and now 2 years have gone by. They have 4 years left, and they say, you know what? We can actually lower your interest rate. Now, keep in mind, even if you had a brand new car from the get-go, when you are doing a refinance, it doesn't matter. They're all considered to be used cars because it's now a used car. Okay. But once again, as long as the car meets the qualifications for the miles and the year, and you got to make sure your credit score qualifies as well. Most of the time, what I've normally seen is usually a 600 or higher or 580 or higher. Okay. But even if you got the same rate, but you can stretch that term out a little bit longer, you can lower the payment. Okay. Now, some people say, well, Calvin, why would I stretch my term out to, an additional year or 2 years? Remember, the important part of this is to have the lower payment. Now, keep in mind, a lot of people think that car notes are not like credit card payments. They actually are. Here's why. Did you know that when you're paying a car note, that is technically the minimum payment? You're more than welcome to make more, to pay extra. But before you pay extra, make sure that you make, of course, the payment that they're expecting. And then let's say you want to pay, let's say an extra $50. Okay. What I recommend you do, you're going to call your finance company and you're going to say, hey, this extra $50, I want to make sure that this $50 goes towards the principal of the loan. Okay. There's something what they call amortization or amorization. You can actually look at, there's an amorization calculator on my website at gosimplypro.com/loan calculator. Okay. Or you just go to the website and you'll see under resources, it'll say loan calculator. I love it because it shows you exactly what, the depreciation of your car. Just so you know, for all of you guys out there and girls that may have a double-digit interest, I just want to make sure I go over the hat again. I want to make sure no one thinks I'm giving bad information or I'm not professional. It's a company hat. Just got to make sure I promote. Okay. So, but either way, even if you have the fastest way out of a double-digit auto loan, okay, I hope you guys are ready for this. The fastest way out of a double-digit auto loan is to, number one, like I just said before, make sure that you make extra payments towards the principal. Okay, that's exactly what you want to do. Now, the second way to get out of a high-interest loan is to do another thing. Okay, after about 2 to 3 years of making the payments on time. Okay, remember, keyword on time. A lot of people don't know. 35% of your, someone's lighting it up. I don't know where these green hearts are coming from. Thank you. I appreciate it. But 35% of your credit score, actually, I'm telling you, 35% of your credit score comes from payment history. Okay. So you want to make sure that everything you do is on time. Okay. People, you got to make sure you write that down. Okay. Is that everything you do is on time. Now that does not mean that you cannot be. No, here's the thing. There's always a rule, but I got to let people know honestly. Now, credit reports only report things that are 30 days or more late. So let's say something comes up, something's due on the 1st, and you won't have the money to the 15th or the 20th. You will pay a late fee 9 times out of 10 with your financial institution. But as long as you make that payment in less than 30 days, then they will not report that late payment to the credit bureau. Okay. But you always want to try to make sure that you are able to make the payments on time. Okay. Now, when to trade in your vehicle. Usually if you have an interest rate, I don't care if it's 25%, 18%, 15%. If you keep the auto loan for about 3 years, okay, three or 4 years. Remember, 2 things are happening. Number one, if you're making all of your payments on time, not only is your score going up because remember you made all the payments on time, but secondly, you brought that balance down, and you probably have that the halfway point. The halfway point is where I would like to say there's no negative equity. Okay, so that's auto terms for upside down. All right, or some people, if you're really old school, some people say underwater. Okay, so what is being upside down? What is negative equity? Negative equity is when you owe more on your car than what your car is actually worth. Okay. Now I want to cover all this. I know some people know it, some people don't. How do you avoid negative equity? The easiest way to avoid negative equity is simply by not when people don't put money down. Okay. So absolutely. I mean, a lot of people have the slightest idea, where to get first off, there's a lot of information out there. Okay. But the problem is that a lot of people are getting the wrong information from the wrong people. Okay. So with me being a FICO certified professional, I've actually learned from Fair Isaac and Company the right information to give to people. Okay. So you want to make sure that number one, that the fastest way to get out of a high interest loan is, I would say, trade that bad boy in as quick as possible. Okay. Because sometimes, let's say it's 2015 now, you buy a 2012 and you keep it for, let's say, 2 years, your car may not qualify to refinance because of the 5-year rule. Okay. But every lender is different. So make sure you get the requirements first. Once you get the requirements, you want to make sure that you even qualify. Okay. Once you, of course, after you make sure your car qualifies. But how do you do that? Go to MyFICO, that's MyFICO.com. MyFICO.com, myfico.com. And I recommend any one of their products are fine. If you want to just be get the lowest, it's like $20, not per month. You can get the standard, and that gives you a score. All of your scores, by the way, they have about 8 different scores. You want to take a look at your auto score. Okay. Yes. myfico.com. I recommend going with TransUnion. Most dealerships, most franchise dealerships, even the mud lots, most of them use TransUnion. Okay. So if you're going to get any report, make sure that it is TransUnion, and you're going to see what they call the auto score 8. Okay. And they also have the auto score 4 as well. Okay. And 9 times out of 10, that's going to be the score that they're going to see as well too. Okay. Once you do that, you'll be able to see mud lots. Yeah. You guys know the mud lots. Me being in Chicago, I'm not even going to go into it. So those are the ones that don't sell like new cars. They only sell used cars. Okay. So me personally, I always go to a franchise dealership because they have rules and regulations. Mud lots, they do whatever they want to do. Okay. So, but either way, another thing that you cannot do, you cannot go to the dealership to refinance. Dealerships are not financial institutions. Dealerships simply have inventory. Okay. They have inventory and they have relationships with banks. Okay. But they're not a bank. You cannot make your payment at these dealerships. You're making payment at a dealership. It's called a buy here, pay here. That's a whole nother periscope. Stay away from buy here, pay here. The reason why you want to stay away from buy here, pay here is simply because it's simple. All of those payments that you're making every single month, whether they're on time or late or whatever, is not being, reported to your credit bureaus. So you're not even getting credit for it. Okay. So I've had people say, well, you know what? My credit sucks. It's horrible. I'm just going to go ahead and go to a buy here, pay here lot. And then they get some crappy car. Well, even if it's a nice car, let's say it's a nice car, and they keep it for, let's say, 5 years. Whether you make the payments on time or you don't, guess what? Let's say the car lasts 10 years. Okay. 10 years goes by. Guess what? You still have horrible, messed up, jacked up credit. Okay. So you got to start somewhere. Remember, just because you have a double-digit interest auto loan does not mean you cannot get a lower interest rate auto loan. Okay. All you have to do is be patient and make your payments on time. The average person drives 12 to 15,000 miles per year. Okay. That's 1,000 to 3,000 miles, probably a month or so. And you just got to make sure that, as long as you stay under that, it will stay, around 1,000 miles a month. As long as you can do that, I'm telling you, you guys are lighting it up tonight. I appreciate it. So make sure you guys are sharing this as well, too, because a lot of bad information is out there. You know how Google is. You'll say how to do something. You can say, Google, why does my stomach hurt? It says, hey, you could be pregnant. So no, you want to make sure you get the right information from the right people. OK, so I most definitely appreciate you guys, for coming, joining the Periscope tonight. If there are any questions at all before I run, I want to make sure I got the information out there. So number one, make sure that you check the requirements, make sure that your car qualifies, and make sure that you qualify as well before giving any information to any financial institution about refinancing. Okay, you should always know your credit score before walking into any situation. Secondly, another way of doing it is just trading in the car. And if you want to avoid negative equity, like I said, if you do it before 2 to 3 years, expect to put some money down, because if your car is worth $6,000, but if you owe $10,000, how do you feel about drive time? I advise my sister against purchasing from them. Yeah, stay away from drive time. This is what I always tell people. If it is a financial, then because they would not allow you to refinance. Well, here's the thing. I'm glad you brought it up. A lot of financial institutions will not let you refinance. Why? It's simple, because they make money off of the higher interest loan. But you can refinance anything you want to. Just because you can't refinance with them does not mean anything. See, you have the car, which is collateral, and then you have the loan from the financial institution. So if you have the car from them, and let's say you owe, $10,000, okay, you can still go get a refinance loan elsewhere, and then they can pay them off, and you now have the new loan with a new financial institution because you have the car as a collateral. Okay. Is that making any sense to anyone? Okay. If you got any questions about this, you can always, just send a message down here below, or you can always send me an email at info@gosimplypro.com, where all of my clients are averaging anywhere between a 25 to 30 point increase per month. Guys, and that just about wraps everything up. You guys can check out the blog on my website at gosimplypro.com. I hope this information was helpful, but don't they report to all credit agencies? Not necessarily. Here's the thing. I always recommend going to, if you cannot drive past a place, as far as the bank goes, the financial institutions, we know the big ones: Bank of America, Chase, Fifth Third, and even Capital One. Capital One you can't drive by, but it's actually one of the largest auto loan, account providers, in the nation right now, as well as credit card providers as well too. You can't drive by them, but they're doing, a lot of the financing out here. But for the most part, most of the big banks, I should say, they are the only ones that are sending all of your information to all of the credit bureaus. But once again, if you go into like a mud lot or drive time or, something like that, you want to make sure that you're going to preferably a franchise dealership. Keep in mind, dealerships just have inventory. You can also get the loan prior to going to the dealership. Just because the dealership has the inventory and the relationship with the banks does not mean that you have to finance with the dealership, because technically you're not financing with the dealership. The dealership just sends you through a system, what they call DealerTrack. Okay. And DealerTrack, they put your information in, they put the car in, and then it lets them know instantly whether you've been approved. Okay. Now that's instantly if you have, fair to good credit. If you have not the best credit, and that's usually anything I would say probably under 540, then you're probably going to be looking at it's going to be pretty difficult, to get that financing done. Okay. So, but either way, I hope this information was helpful to you guys. If there's not any more questions, I'll go ahead and wrap up. Make sure you check out the website at gosimplypro.com. I got a lot of great new stuff that's coming out before the end of the year. You guys are going to be extremely excited. New website coming, new programs coming, new products coming. I just want to make sure that I'm catering myself to the market, as we know, because service to many leads to greatness. So thank you all so much. Take care. God bless and have a great night. I'm trying to turn this off. Good night. I think it's still not off. I'm going now. Eventually. I guess until this thing turns off, I guess I'll keep answering questions. You guys are like putting up so many hearts. I'll just leave this on just for the hearts tonight, okay? All right, guys.